Welcome to Business Law Unlocked with Attorney Shannon A. Holmes.
Hey everybody, welcome to an all-new episode of Business Law Unlocked with Attorney Shannon A. Holmes. I'm your host, Mike Leon. You know, Shannon is a seasoned attorney with a broad range of experience in all facets of business and sports law, and he's equally versed in asset preservation and wealth transfer, and he serves as general counsel for serial entrepreneurs. And in today's episode, we're talking about how serial entrepreneurs and growing businesses can navigate the legal landscape from startup to maturity and how to avoid some costly mistakes along the way. So Shannon, good to see you. Let's get into it at a high level here. Can you introduce yourself to our audience, share your background in business law, your experience working with entrepreneurs and growing businesses?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Sure. Again, Attorney Shannon A. Holmes. I am a attorney here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, principal office. We have the privilege of serving clients nationwide, but that's our home office. My experience is a little unique, Mike. I spent about 15 years post-undergrad as a commercial banker and as a commercial loan officer. And my father was an entrepreneur. And so a lot of my business knowledge and understanding came from my just life experiences. And then as I became an attorney, obviously I've used that skill, that knowledge and information to help clients with their legal matters with respect to their business needs.
So let me ask you a follow-up to that. What attracted you to this particular area, specifically on the helping startups and the growing businesses front?
You know, I can tell you again, it's funny you asked that. Again, having a father who was an entrepreneur who had several small businesses, I know the pains that it is for entrepreneurs to get access to good information, right? I've purposely not ever had my law office downtown. No disrespect to the attorneys and the firms who are downtown, but I think that's a barrier to entrepreneurs and small business owners getting legal services. So I've always kept my business, my office in a place where it's easily accessible and made myself easily accessible to entrepreneurs. Again, with the purpose of being able to provide them information that they don't normally have access to.
So piggybacking on that access to what are some of the different reasons that entrepreneurs or even, business owners would reach out to your firm specifically?
Well, they hear a lot of things. They read a lot of things nowadays on the internet. They hear a lot of things on social media. And so they reach out just asking questions about formation, entity, how to protect themselves. How should they even start? What are the first things they should do in terms of forming an entity? How far along should they be before they form an entity? Many times entrepreneurs are approached because, they've put it out that they're doing X, whether providing a product or a service, and now they have an opportunity to do that. And they want to know, how should they do that? How should they protect themselves? How should they engage with that potential customer? And so those are the types of questions we get initially.
And your business clients overall, what do they generally look like? Like what businesses are made up of that group?
Oh, great question. Man, we have everyone from retailers, restaurant owners, real estate developers, real estate investors. I represent a number of professional athletes who are retired now, who have various business interests, from producing goods to just investing in various entities. So it spans. We've got artists. I've represented several people in the arts. So it's a wide range. And while their services and what they offer may be different, the concept of business is typically the same.
Now, Shannon, let's get into the hard part here, because I'm sure there's disputes that arise in these businesses. So can you kind of give us maybe some examples of some common disputes that have arisen that you've seen over your practice, and how are they generally resolved?
Well, another good question, Mike. You're on it. Let's start with, typically the first dispute is usually some contractual matter between the client I'm representing and someone they're doing business with, right? Oftentimes people want to not use us, meaning us being lawyers, as they try to scale back or not spend money to make money, right? And so often they will come up with some document they think is a binding agreement for the parties to do business, and usually it just has lots of holes in it, which leads to lots of issues, and usually that's when they come back to us. The other big issue where we see a lot of controversy or disputes is between multiple people in an entity, whether they formed i.e. in a partnership, or if they're in an LLC as members. I'll tell you, Mike, one of the big ones is, just imagine you have two people in an LLC, and then you write the operating agreement in a manner that it requires a majority to make a certain decision. And so if the two people are at odds, how do you resolve that dispute, right? And so oftentimes when you pull these documents off the internet, they don't address that, right? And so now you have a dispute and you can't get that resolved and you can't move forward in your business. So those are some of the basic things. Usually, like I said, it's some contractual issue, someone did or didn't do something. And secondly, it's some dispute between the members and they don't have anything in their documents that governs that.
Yeah, and I see a lot of that coming from the entertainment world, like you said, disputes between the creatives, right? So let me ask you, piggybacking on that, for somebody that's listening to this, they got a new business. What's an ideal point where they should hire your firm, and then what can you do for them in these early stages of their new business?
Well, uniquely for me, because I just believe in sharing information. I think I'm a teacher and coach by nature, and I do that. I teach a law school class, and I've coached youth sports for years. But so that's just part of my nature. I don't mind sharing information. I would rather that person just reach out to me early when they have a concept, an idea. We never have an issue signing disclosure documents or confidentiality documents, but I'd love for them to reach out to me as early in the process so we can then just share information with them about how they should go about pursuing that business, talk about when they should form their entity and some of the other initial steps they should do so that they don't have some of these hiccups early in their business. So again, as soon as possible, as soon as you have an idea, a concept, an ability to put something around the business, I think that's when you should be reaching out to legal counsel.
So we talked about the new businesses. Now let's get to the ones that are a little bit more mature. So when a business matures, as it grows in nature, what legal changes or updates should these entrepreneurs and owners be considering with their attorney, or if they were to use your firm?
Yeah. Again, one depends. If they're adding people to their ownership structure, obviously that may be changing. Two, if they're growing, there's likely some dynamics in there with respect to HR and how they're hiring and i.e. or firing. Do they have proper human resources materials, employee handbooks, things of that sort? And then obviously risk and compliance. Are they in an industry that requires certain registrations and regulations? Are they compliant in every facet of their business? And from a risk management perspective, how are they now insuring themselves against the risk? Because as you grow, the risk grows. I mean, there's an old saying, if you're not being sued, you're probably not doing a lot of business. I mean, that, it sounds odd, but that's in some light, it's true. So they should just be considering all that and probably should be doing an annual audit of their compliance, their risk management, their employee documents. And of course, with respect to their entity, they should be having their annual meetings to make sure they're compliant and not presenting a situation where that entity, whether it's an LLC, corporation, et cetera, could be breached because they didn't follow the simple steps that are required by law to maintain that structure.
Shannon, something I just thought of right now, as your years in this space, and specifically on the business law front, what are some potential emerging trends or maybe changes that entrepreneurs should be aware of as they, start their business, and then ones that have already started it and are starting to grow their business? Anything that they should be aware for that's been emerging in that area?
Yeah, great question again, Mike. I think obviously AI. We're living in a time now where technology is such a big part of everything we do, everything we touch. Was part of a CLE just about a couple of weeks ago at a legal conference, and we talked about the impact of AI. And when we go into developing content, developing materials through the computer using AI, the question becomes, who owns that? Right. So if you go in and create content through AI and then publish that, well, do you own it? Did the application you're using, do they retain some ownership? So those are the big things now we really have to be cognizant about is AI and how we're using AI, how that impacts our business and in our clients' business as well.
Everyone's looking at AI. That's the next wave, right? So, Shannon, final piece here. Let's land the plane here. Final piece of advice you would give somebody who's watching this. They're an aspiring entrepreneur. They're trying to navigate this landscape, the legalities around some of these things in terms of starting and growing a business. What's a piece of advice you would give to them?
Real simple. Invest the money now. You're going to be putting money into your business. You believe in your concept. You want to do as much as you can to elevate your business, protect your business, and with that, don't be afraid to spend a little money with legal counsel so that they can do their best to advise you in setting up that business. Because again, you're going to be spending lots of time and resources to launch that business and run that business, which will hopefully have some return for your time and resources. It will have some return on your investment. So make sure you make legal a part of that investment.
Shannon, thank you so much for the time and insights today. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
And thank you to everybody listening out there of today's episode of Business Law Unlocked with Attorney Shannon A. Holmes. If your business is ready to scale and you want a strategic legal partner in your corner, do me a favor, visit ShannonAHolmes.com right now. Be sure to like, subscribe, share this episode with others who may need it or they can benefit from Shannon's insights. As always, I'm Mike Leon. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.